Hi, readers. It's Lori. Welcome back to my channel, Books, Ink, and Paper. I am so excited to bring you my October TBR. And the reason I'm so excited to bring you my October TBR is because October is one of my favorite months of the year. And I love to read all the spooky stuff in October. So I look forward to this for so long. And I really do have a great stack of books to choose from. Now, you know, my TBR and I don't always align perfectly. My TBR is more of a guideline for me rather than you have to read these things. If you're new to my channel, you might not know this, but I'm almost defiant when it comes to the TBR. And I did create one for series September, and I did not follow it to the letter for sure. Let me start by sharing one of my favorite things to pull out and show you, which is my book sleeve made by Lindsay at Lindsay's Little Library. You can find her on Etsy. And this is a small, I think, or medium. It's probably a medium. So it definitely will fit some of my paperbacks that are on my list. And I do have large ones too. So I'll show you those throughout the year because I have a Christmas one and a spring one. And, you know, they're all just so much fun. So that will house a couple of the books that are on my TBR. But first, let me go with the not horror-y, creepy, but more mystery. And one is a cozy. All right, here we go. So this one is part of the Haunted Bookshop Mystery Series, Cozy Series, The Ghost and the Dead Man's Library by Alice Kimberly, who's actually Alice Alfonsi, and she writes with her husband, Mark Saraceni. And I've never read anything by Kate or Alice Kimberly, but I also recently opened up some boxes and I'm trying to start back to my bookish inventory. And this one was kind of on the top. And because it's got some fall, creepy, colory vibes, I thought it would be good. So Penelope McClure is a bookshop owner, and she's received a rare collection of Edgar Allan Poe's work. And there is a rumor that there's a secret code trapped within this book. So one of these books goes missing, and there's a resident ghost in this library, and the ghost and a detective named P.I. Jack Shepherd work together to crack the case. So I'm assuming Jack Shepherd is one of her continuing characters. I don't know a lot about this author. What I do know is I actually got this book from my sister's bookshelves when I was caregiving for her during her bout with cancer. She recommended this. I grabbed it, but I was not reading well during that time, so I never got to it. But I'm excited to possibly give it a try. We'll see. That will easily fit in my book sleeve. There'll be too much room there. Another one I've wanted to get to is 0 Days by Ruth Ware. I mentioned this in another video, but if I read this, I will have read Ruth Ware to zero because I've read everything else she's written. This is more of a mystery thriller. I'm assuming that this one is kind of based on To Catch a Thief, perhaps, or one of those kinds of books. I need to find out because they all kind of have a nuance to another book or another, you know, mystery kind of crime movie, that kind of thing. So I feel like this one has an attachment to it, but I don't really want to know. All I know is that this follows a woman and her husband who they're not crime solvers, but they do some tech work, and she does some she tests companies' systems. So she goes in and out and she tries to break their, you know, entry codes, and she tries to do different things just to show the company how safe they are. And then he does the tech part, and then he's found dead, and she is the suspect. So she goes on the run to try to find out who killed her husband while they are, you know, trying to find her. Everybody has their own feeling about Ruth Ware. I really enjoy Ruth Ware. Some more than others, but I really am anxious to finish that one because I've had it for not too long now. But, you know, like I said, I love Ruth Ware, and they're very quick to go through. So I like that part. This, Murder, She Wrote, The Women Who Pioneered Horror and Speculative Fiction by Lisa Kroger and Melanie Anderson. I've had this for a while. I put this forward for one of my nonfiction you pick reads videos earlier in the year, and this one did not get picked, but I realized then and remembered that I could read it during the month of October, and that would be a perfect time. So this one, it kind of explores why women write horror fiction, and which are the women that are kind of put forward as more maybe well-known or maybe more groundbreaking. So there are, let's see, Mary Shelley, Marianne Radcliffe, Margaret Cavendish. Oh, there's lots of them I don't know. Shirley Jackson. These are the ones you probably know. Shirley Jackson, Sarah Waters, Susan Hill, Anne Rice is in here, of course. V.C. Andrews. And then there's some others that are lesser known to me anyway. Mary Elizabeth Councilman, a Deep South storyteller. Dion Fortune, Britain's psychic defender. Alice Askew, the casualty of war. Marjorie Bowen, scribe of the supernatural. Toni Morrison even wrote a history of haunted things. So I figured I could just kind of read these at night now and again, or read one a day or whatever, and be able to get through this pretty easily. There are 282 chapters each about a different writer. And there's lots of great illustrations here. And they are divided into parts, so you can kind of group all of these together. But yeah, they just have, there's just a lot of cool stuff in here. I just love this book. I love the end papers. I love the colors of it. I love the front cover. That is just absolutely stunning to me. So this one's definitely going to be consumed at least partially in October. Now we get to the really spooky stuff. Close your eyes, breathe. These are scary. It's evening for me. Lest you worry, it is way after dinner time. And yeah, I thought I would have a little wine with my creepy books. Okay, I've had this one for a bit. Darcy Coates is famous for these kinds of books, and this is The Haunting of Ashburn House. I've never read anything by Darcy Coates that I recall, anyway. So this one is about a house named Ashburn House that they say the old owner went mad, and there are ghosts that live in the house, and this girl, Adrienne, has to have a place to stay, and so this is the place she chooses. And it's, probably pretty tropey. And there are strange messages etched into the walls. Furniture moves when she leaves the room, and there's a grave in the forest that hints at a difficult and dangerous secret. I would love for this to be really creepy. I love books about haunted houses, so this would be a nice one for me to take a look at. I also have two others about haunted houses. This one I newly acquired, The Stranger Upstairs by Lisa M. Matlin. I think this was the one I chose for my free book for my birthday. Therapist, self-help writer Sarah bought a gorgeous Victorian home in a community of her dreams. And it turns out, it says, you can get a killer deal when someone was murdered in your house. She's a blogger, I think, and she's starting to decorate and do different things. She starts to discover creepy, creepy secrets about this house. This is a very pretty cover. It's an interesting color choice. Maybe not like fallish, but creep happens all year long. So I'll just read about it in the fall, but that doesn't mean I won't read about it in the spring too. This one on the back says, a gruesome history, a hostile neighborhood, a new owner with a shocking secret. Welcome to Blackwood House. It's interesting that they have these titles, these houses, right? And this one I've talked about before. I hauled this a few months ago, The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I do enjoy Riley Sager, some more than others. This one is a bit of a retelling of the Lizzie Borden murder story. This follows a woman whose name is Leonora, who was 7 when her family was murdered. Now she's an older woman living in this creepy house with a caregiver, and she's never told anyone her story. There's been a lot of speculation about what happened to her family, but this caregiver discovers that Lenora wants to tell her secret or her life story. and she will type it out for the caregiver, whose name is Kit. This house is actually at Hope's End too, which is quite interesting. Kit wants to help her by allowing her to tell the story, and she types it because she cannot speak, or chooses not to. I'm not sure which. I've heard several people have really enjoyed this. Lindsay from Lindsay's Little Library, I think, did really like it. She and I have very similar tastes, so I'm hopeful that this one will be a good one. I feel like I've read all but maybe the Final Girls one, so I could read Riley Sager 2-0 as well. I've talked about this one recently when I hauled it too, but I've been waiting. I've been saving this for Creep Month. Chandler Baker, a bunch of preschool children or kindergarten children who start to have a taste for blood, and they start to drink blood. And then the teacher is found, there's a teacher that's found dead, and the parents are all trying to kind of unravel what's happening with their children. And I think it's kind of a humorous horror from what I gather, and just kind of reading a little bit of the book here and there. Like I remember opening it up and at the bookstore and seeing some pretty funny lines. So I love that. I also love a story that has a lot of creep to it, but a funny is good too. Kind of breaks the tension, right? This one I've had for a while. This is The Hollow Kind by Andy Davidson. Andy Davidson's wife went to University of Mississippi with my partner. So I don't know Andy, but I have a, degree separated from Andy, I guess. And I have his other book called In the Valley of the Sun. I think it's on my Kindle, and I got it when it first came out. I think that was his debut. I haven't read it. I feel like that one was about vampires, but don't quote me because I have not done that research. This one, though, is also about a house or a property. So this woman, whose name is Nellie Gardner, discovers that she's inherited a turpentine estate, which was very popular, at one time, and from her grandfather. And so she picks up her 11-year-old son, Max, and they run off to go and live in this estate. But it is actually a decrepit farmhouse on 1,000 acres of old pine forest. But she's okay with that. She sees it as a place to kind of hide from her husband or her ex-husband and just regroup and restart with Max. But then Max starts to get some messages or some dreams, or I can't remember if it's dreams or something, but Max starts to hear and feel and sense some things about this place that aren't good. Look at the end papers for this. I absolutely love a good end paper, as you know. So here's the map of what they've inherited. Super nice end papers. And so this is what's interesting to me. She says, hey, my friend's husband publishes books. And, again, I didn't read the first one. She did. I did not. And then we get to this one, and it's blurbed by S.A. Cosby, Alma Katsu, T. Kingfisher, Paul Tremblay, Clay McLeod Chapman, and Sean Hamill. Many of those authors I know about or follow. So I think this may have been sort of more of a breakthrough for him. And I also say that because I see it in almost every bookstore I visit. So I'm really happy for him. This is a creepy little animal on the front. So that's interesting. I would love to get to this because, again, I've had this for a bit of time. Let me tell you when this came out. He also wrote The Boatman's Daughter, which I do not own. So this came out in 2022. So I've had it for a bit of time, but maybe not as long as I thought. But I think it came out early in 2022. So the opening quote in the book is, tell me a story of things hoped for, things dreamed. I will convince you it is a story of horrors. From James Green, The Nameless Traveler, 1939. I can't think of anything more perfect for October. This one's been on my radar for a while. I just recently bought it. I'm almost doing a haul at the same time I'm doing a TBR, but stay tuned. I'll just go over them quickly. But okay, I've been watching this one for a bit. Hidden Pictures, Jason Rekulic. Also a creepy cover. And it was a buy one, get one half off option for me. And so this one actually follows a girl who was in rehab, and she gets a job babysitting Teddy, whose parents hire her. And Teddy is, just a lovely child until he starts drawing kind of some disturbing things. And he's apparently seeing some things in some way that are like a man dragging a woman's dead body, that kind of thing. So a lot of people love this. I have been wanting to read it for a while. There are pictures in it. Also pretty creepy. I think it has some connection to Mississippi too, as I remember. The last one on my possible TBR is Daphne by Josh Malerman. I read Bird Box by Josh Malerman, and I think I read another one by Josh Malerman, but I can't remember what it was called. This one, the blurb on the back got me. You'll be triple checking the locks and sleeping with all your lights on the house on bright, too afraid to close your eyes. Peng Shepard, who wrote The Cartographers, which I also would like to read. Anyway, this one follows a girl named Kit Lamb, and it's the last summer before they all go to college, and she's on a sports team, and they gather one night before the big game, and somebody starts telling this story of a woman named Daphne, probably by a campfire. I mean, let's just give it some typical horror-y atmosphere, right? And she went to their school and died, and some people say that she was murdered, and some people say that she killed herself. Nevertheless, after this story is told, several of her teammates start to go missing. And she is afraid that that something's going to happen to her. So she starts trying to figure out what happened to her mates and maybe what is going on, who Daphne really is or was. So it says, mixing a nostalgic coming-of-age story and instantly iconic female villain with an innovative new vision of classic horror, Daphne is an unforgettable thriller as only Josh Malerman could imagine it. What I loved about the Bird Box was that it was very speculative horror based, and so you had to suspend belief to some degree that could happen, but it was so well paced, and it was so like frightening really to me. Reading it, I remember devouring that like in a day or so. It was something I could not put down. And if this is true for this book as well, and another one that I just recently hauled, I will be very, very happy. So that is Daphne by Josh Malerman. So those are the books I would like to sink my teeth into, if you will pardon the vampiric pun there, during the month of October. I have another bit of video to tell you about something else I want to participate in, but for the most part, I think my month in October will be almost completely devoted to horror, with these couple of mysteries and this nonfiction peppered in. So I would love to hear what your plans are for October, for the spooky season of the year. And if any of these are on your list, or if you have read any of these, I'd love to know that too. Thanks as always for watching me, and I hope you have a really, really creepy, happy reading month. Bye.